So you've been quite open about some of the struggles that you've had throughout music, and it says here in 2012 you signed a deal with RCA Records, but before you'd even released a single, you got dropped suddenly. What was the psychological impact of that? Was that really tough for you, or did football become more of an option then?
No, not even. I think, a lot of people said that must have, been crippling, but for me, I think I've just always had the ability to, it's probably come from football, I really do believe that. It's never over. Liverpool was 3-0 down in the Champions League final and they come back and won. So even when I got dropped, it was the worst day of my life. You sign a record deal, you think, oh, that's it, I've made it. 6 months down the line, I got dropped. But it's kind of like football, a new manager come in, he didn't sign me. He doesn't like the player, he sort of let me go, and then it's so crazy because, it's kind of like a Paul Pogba story. 4 years on, I re-signed to the same label that dropped me for the same, for more money.
I love this analogy. It's like going back to the ex-boyfriend.
Yeah, exactly. Hits for the likes of Dua Lipa, Kylie Minogue, Kesha, Saturdays, to name but a few. How did the music start for you? Has music and football always gone hand in hand? When did it begin?
Well, I played football first, so I started playing football when I was 9. So 9 to 16, I played for Liverpool. I did go on for a season at Everton, but we won't talk about that. And yeah, it was just, I started singing and writing songs probably about 16 when I just left school. I just fell in love with it. And obviously, the women's game isn't paid the same as the men. So everyone has another career. And I just, started falling in love with music and couldn't make training as much. I got a record deal about 19. And then I stopped playing for about 4 or 5 years. And then 2 years ago, after the World Cup, a lot of the girls in the England squad I played with at youth level. And I was just like, you know what, I've got to get back into it just for fun and semi-pro. And then I went on a few trials at Tottenham, West Ham, Fulham, and I got a contract from all of them. So I was like, okay. So yeah, now I'm doing both, and I just can't believe it. I'm loving it.
Of the oldest players that have ever performed, for want of a better word, played at a World Cup. Do you want to hear this list very quickly?
Yeah, I do. I really do. Wish
me luck with pronunciations, brace, and my horse teeth. Here we go. Right, we've got really. SML Hadari, he plays for Egypt. He's 45 years old. He's playing in this year's tournament. Well,
45?
was playing. 45.
Wow.
Farid Mondragon, who's Colombian, in 2014 was 43 years old. Roger Miller from Cameroon, 42 years old. He played in 94. Pat Jennings, Northern Ireland, he played in 86. He was 41 years old. And Peter Shilton, obviously our Peter Shilton, back in the 90s, was 40 years old. So 45 years old. So there's no excuse for being
that is an
tired.
astonishing.
Now, one thing, women high-pitched voices. No, I don't.
I mean, the two are not mutually exclusive.
No, it's no offence, Jason, but we did leave the kitchen. I mean, you might be surprised about that.
Hang on.
We do work.
Let's just talk about some of the male football players who've got high-pitched voices. I don't think it is completely unfair. In fact, Jason, would you say we had high-pitched voices?
He's apologised for his comments.
Bit late though.
A bit late. He was called a sexist pig by Piers Morgan on Good Morning Britain, and basically this was all to do with he didn't like the so-called pitch of Vicky Sparks, the first female commentator.
Who is he to make that
It's just the most ridiculous thing. 'Cause also, there's been controversy over the role of female pundits and commentators throughout the World Cup so far. Including Enya Luca and Alex Scott being pundits on ITV and BBC. Now, and Alex, how many England caps have they got so far? And then we look at some of the male commentators. How many England caps have they got? You can't compare. It's the most ridiculous comment ever. That why are we having? I mean, Jackie Oakley has been speaking about this. Why do we have to defend ourselves yet again? Just because you're female doesn't mean you're not as knowledgeable, if not more, as a guy.